I know that some people in history, those who were theological in their perspective, held the view that in predeterminism, predestination, which is a doctrine that was taught by the Apostle Paul. He was saying, having been predestined, he used that little bit of a phrase in one of his theological arguments, his discussions, and I believe it was in the book of Romans, or maybe even some of his other letters to various churches in that part of the world, in Turkey, in the area of what was used to be Asian Minor. But yeah, he was teaching in predestination, but he also taught choice. He also taught free will, choosing to do good rather than do evil, choosing God rather than choosing the devil. So he taught both. So we know that there are those who've been propped up or raised up, or who were self-appointed, those who try to make a division between the two of free choice and predetermination, saying that people didn't have a choice. People were pre-selected. They were pre-chosen to be a certain person and to act a certain way, and to inevitably have a destination of either hell or heaven, which the Apostle Paul does say, and in one of his epistles, I believe it was to his own countrymen, the Hebrews, Jews, the Israelites. He was saying, and do you think this, O man? Doesn't the potter have the right to make from one lump of clay this particular vessel for honor, and another clump of clay and make that into a vessel of dishonor? And he said that he predicted that their response would be, well, then why does God blame us? Why does he find fault with us? If he chose some of us to be lumps for dishonor and others to be lumps for honor, then why are we at fault if we don't have a choice? Doesn't seem fair. That was the argument he tried to predict that his fellow Judaizers would come up with, because they were great at argumentation and arguing different points of religious philosophy. But try to nip it in the bud, kind of, so he wrote it down for us to read. But both are taught. Calvinism rose up, Arminianism rose up, and they pick and choose. They take half of the truth, while the other one takes the other half of the truth. But they're both truths that are taught in Scripture. But they try to make distinctions in all these writings when there isn't. I mean, they both somehow are correlated. They work together in parallelisms. Like a coin. You have heads and you got tails, but it's the same coin. So it's the same truth. And it wasn't just the apostles, in particular the Apostle Paul, that brought up this issue about this choice versus non-choice, free will versus predestination. But Jesus mentioned it when he spoke to his disciples. When he chose them to be his disciples, he said, "You did not choose me, I chose you, that you would bear much fruit." So that was kind of a predestination little remark there. But at other times, obviously he made it clear that people did have a choice whether or not whether they wanted to follow him. In fact, he told them, before you make a decision to follow me, Jesus said about himself, you better count the cost. Count what it costs you to follow me, because it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be tough and rough. But, that's what it was back then. I don't know how it is now. In certain parts of the world, I'd imagine. But not here in the United States is easy because we have religious toleration. We're tolerant of each other. We get along even though we have differences of philosophy and political views and religious. We still get along with each other here in the United States because we premise ourselves on the unity of the brotherhood, blood, because we're all created by God. That's where we have roots. We have roots in the fact that every single person is created in God's image. So we try to love one another based on not just Christ, because Christ said to love each other, but and the apostles said, as much as depends on you, be at peace with one another. So we are supposed to strive with peace with those who we don't even agree with and may not agree with us. Peace is a godly mandate. But so Jesus clearly taught both also. Christ taught predestination and free will, free choice. I'm sure there's lots of other examples. I'd have to think of it or look it up, but it's they're there, lots of them. So Arminianism and Calvinism, though they seem to be opposing each other, if you look at them both in totality, they're both true.